Good afternoon, everybody. Oh, sorry. Just a couple of bits of housekeeping, if I may. Please switch to the presenter view. You'll get all the information, hopefully. Also, feel free to ask any questions. You'll see that in the conversation panel at the side, and we'll try and answer those at the end of the webinar. Also, if you could put your PC speakers or headsets to live, they're all turned on. So hopefully you can hear what we've got to say. With luck, you'll enjoy this. I'll start and progress on from here. So welcome to the IDPAC second webinar in the series, of the spring series. We're going to start now. Okay, so good afternoon. My name's Chris Waterhouse. I'd like to welcome you to the third of the series, what we call the Spring 2018 series. This webinar, we're going to focus on applying digital in the wider industrial context. We'll be exploring how these novel uses of digital perhaps present opportunities to enhance your product offers and add some value to your business. So here we go. So firstly, just a couple of short words about IDPAC, and then we'll get straight into it. We're a packaging and supply chain consultancy. We're based in Petersfield in Hampshire, southwest of London. Our mission, what we aspire to do for our clients, is to solve product and supply chain challenges through effective design and hopefully pragmatically engineered packaging solutions. We work for a bunch of companies, as you'd expect. Companies like Syngenta, BSF, Adama, Certis, multinationals, SMEs, all sorts of sizes. What this gives us, many challenges, many different challenges. The types of support our clients require is clearly different. What it allows us to do is provide a variety of different solutions in different environments, and to customize our approach to so many of those clients. You know, we're proud of what we do. We request that our clients judge us by the company that we keep. And here's a bunch of guys that hopefully speak volumes in that regard. Okay, so moving into the webinar. So we're going to look at some novel areas for digital. Some of the things that digital already does for us. Some of the things you might not think about, to be honest. Then we're going to go a little bit into different print technologies, and different approaches really for the way that digital brings us into the future. We'll wrap up with a couple of watch outs at the end and some conclusions, followed by, as I say, the question and answer session. So, okay, so the novel areas. The fact of the matter is, a lot of this stuff is around us already. For example, in the home, flooring and walls, we have ceramic tiles, wooden flooring laminates, furniture. That's all pretty much exclusively digital these days, apart from the really, really high-end stuff, which is hand-painted if you can afford that kind of stuff, or real wood. There's then the dental and medical areas. You know, tooth repairs, broken teeth, they're built in, they're dealt with in that sort of way. Things are printed digitally. And then you've got the hip joints, bones, reconstructions, various reconstructions that are done. And then in addition to that, in the more packaging field, we have the direct to shape type printing. All different shapes, all different sizes, all available today. And it's all stuff that you're seeing day to day all the time. Okay, so in the household world, again, just a little bit more detail. You know, ubiquitous desktop printer. Yeah, we've been using that photo quality for, I don't know, 20 years now, something like that. That's been around. We've got them on our desks. We've got them in our offices. Those things are all the time in use. And then as time has gone on, we've got the ceramic started off something like 20 years ago, then the flooring, then the doors, all those things that start to give us this value added to the vendors and a personalized decoration. And this is the sort of thread that's going through it all. The wraps on the fridges and the refrigerators and those sorts of things. And then now the more modern things are wallpapers. Wraps, wallpaper, what do you want to call it? You know, it's all stuff that allows us to personalize. We see this digital ability to bring the rooms together. What it's doing is giving us that capability for individualization. the thing that we cry out for all the time. Uniquely themed rooms, available more quickly, with greater precision and greater flexibility. So this is what we're after. This is the sort of thing that's being pushed forward. And these are the things we hopefully bring then into the supply chain, into the world of packaging that we live in. So just a small example there. Customized furniture, the doors, the furniture, the wardrobes, they're wrapped, they're put together. I'm not entirely sure about the color schemes, but it does give you a unique perspective. You know, the wallpaper, again, printed. It's a long way from the block patterns printed that was so familiar of years gone by. And we also put textures on there as well these days. So textures, various things like that are all available. Carpets and linens, maybe not so much carpets, but certainly the linens, absolutely printed. Printed clothing, printed furniture, printed blinds, all absolutely in the normal space for the decoration. And then of course you've got cuddly toys, electronics within those to talk to the child, to communicate with the child. The only thing that's really a problem is your imagination, because actually almost everything can be done these days. Uniquely themed, any colour scheme you want, including the very gaudy one that's there. And I'm sure someone's got an old-fashioned one like this. Certainly, I think I might have somewhere actually. But anyway, the imagination is the limit. Everything else can be done, no problem at all. Okay, so then we look at the medical field. So we have the simple stuff. Maybe not, our colleagues in pharmaceuticals may not think they're quite so simple, but track and trace through patient adherence. There's adherence, there's anti-counterfeit, that's all about digital print. Coding with scanners built into it. We talked a little bit about the dental, about the joints. Very patient specific. We're all different shapes, we're all different sizes. It is hugely important that we get the right shapes, sizes through scanners, through bone sizing and all that kind of stuff that gives us the ability to give people the perfect customized solution. And again, it's that customization that we can deliver really very, very effectively. The other thing we're doing as well with the 3D print type systems, creating the membranes, the shape, the scaffolding, for want of a better expression, for instance, prosthetic ears, those sorts of things, or even actually real cells, real ears that are then grafted on through the medical profession. We can actually use as well the same sorts of things as well for replacement of skin in the bottom there, on the bottom right hand side, skin, creating the environment where we can create the skin, exactly the right colors, exactly the right shapes and sizes for perfect grafts afterwards. And also the reminders with the little bottle there next to the track and trace blister. The bottle is giving us the ability to print electronics highly effectively, highly cost effectively, highly efficiently onto bottles, which are then used to start communicating with the patient, creating an environment where we're talking, we're communicating, we're reminding people to take the drugs at the right time, to feed back to the doctors as appropriate, and give the value add within the packaging system. All these things again have examples in the more mainstream type pack systems that we're dealing with every day. Okay, so we talked about medical, and then we have direct to shape. Now a lot of us have mobile phones, or almost all of us, I'm sure. And we put our images on the back of them, on the cases, on the unbreakable cases that then break. So anything you like, that's 3D printed. Not 3D printed, sorry, that's inkjet printed digitally onto the casing. Luggage now, you know, bizarre shape. Who the hell would think you print luggage? Absolutely you can. You take your image, it gives you the uniqueness, the personality of your own particular case. Safety helmets for motorcycles, for bikes, those sorts of things. These are printed on a digital machine. Now, at the moment, the speeds are relatively low. The quality is exceptional. But that gives us the ability to print any size object in any colors that we would like. And then it feeds through into the sort of Coca-Cola, the mainstream packaging systems, using sleeves perhaps, but also now the on the direct to glass type print, direct to plastic print, direct to shape. It's all in there, giving us, using the software systems, creating that value add. We all want to have something unique. We all want something personalized. Really hugely important in the modern world. And that leads through, as I say, to additive manufacture. And again, this is, it's kind of seen a little bit niche. it's seen as being, you know, why do we need that? But it has great benefit to the wider environment as well. For example, the airplane industry, not known for its eco-credentials in a lot of cases, they're working now, the GE have made a fuel nozzle for a jet engine. It was 18 parts, it's now a single part, printed through additive engineering. It's 25% lighter. There are 19 nozzles per engine, and they're making 30,000 annually. So that's mainstream production engineering in additive manufacture. And what that gives them as a manufacturer, huge benefits from the ecosystems. What we get is the savings. They did a survey on it, and what they're telling us, or this is GE, sorry, Airbus. They're telling us it saves something like 1.2 to 2.8 billion gigajoules of energy a year in terms of the energy savings through lighter parts, through lighter components. The cumulative emission reduction is something like 93 to 217 million tons of CO2 to do with manufacture again. And now they're looking at turbine blades, all available. They're doing all the work on it, and it gives us great benefits. And that's stuff that translates into the work that we are doing in the world of packaging. Photogrammetry, it's automated CAD from imagery, from photograph imagery, 2D into 3D. And that is being used widely, well, not widely, sorry, but they're starting to develop work on building objects, structures, those sorts of things. The picture down there at the bottom is a robot that's building an igloo in the Arctic, or the Antarctic, I'm not sure which one. Anyway, the Arctic, snowy place on the North or South Pole, which is creating an environment where they can build the igloos, put in using robots, and then develop the shapes through the manufacture of, or the putting together the blocks of ice. That's also been used as well in coral. They're using the same sorts of things and considering using the same sort of things, using sand to create coral reefs to replace what's already there, where it's been destroyed. All these are great benefits that are being fed through the 3D world, the digital world, and the sorts of things that we can start thinking about in terms of the packaging systems that we're developing. Electronics, printed electronics. It's a big area. It's been around for many years now. Everything from thin films, flexible circuit boards. What this gives us now is the capability, once we start to get to the flexibility, start to get to a point where we can start creating environments where we can start putting on different shaped objects. So the Coke bottle there with the lights on its label. Coke seems to do an awful lot of stuff. We've got NFC tags and breakable tags on the Johnny Walker Scotch, and then on top of that we start to have just the circuit boards there, flexible, built into t-shirts, built into communication media, used in shops. The important thing is it's printed type technology, and what that means is cost effective and reflects, excuse the pun, reflects and gets us there to a point where we're highly flexible with what we're developing, able to respond very quickly because it's printed. We can change the shapes, change the connectivity of all these things, and it gives us the ability to start communicating with the smartphones, start to use it for anti-counterfeit technologies, and we start put these sorts of things to create a connection with the Internet of Things. The next best thing, the Internet of Things, the connectivity, the reordering, all those things are through your device, your mobile phone device, through into the packaging systems created through the use of printed electronics. And again, this is a slide we used in a previous webinar. So the global megatrends, that's why it's so important. So personalization, the premiumization and the tactile effects that are so important in creating that personalization effect, and using these within the drinks industry, the beverage industry, the car industry, all these sorts of or locations that are demanding this customization. And we can use that through events, through promotions, again creating this value add within the sales environment. That's what folks want. And then we link that through the smart environment, through the electronics on whatever, the barcodes, smarter barcodes, to a world of e-commerce. It creates the environment where we have smaller batch sizes, and smaller batch sizes are the absolute bane of the manufacturing community in a lot of cases. But taking that forward, you start talking about digital print, digital capability within the conventional manufacturing environment, and that delivers capability cost effectively. I was talking to someone this morning who was talking about in the pharmaceutical world about the ability and the thought process about, we have track and trace, we have serialization. The concern now, or not concern, but the thinking, the best thinking, is that we will move towards every blister pocket, for example, or every primary pack will have its own code. Maybe not initially databased, but certainly have its own code. And if you move to that model, it is relatively unusual. It's not widely done. It's not difficult to do and can absolutely be done. But it takes the next step forward, particularly for environments where, for instance, in Africa and the poor areas of the world, where they're looking for a daily dose rather than a monthly dose or whatever it happens to be in terms of the pharmaceutical world, actually delivering that capability to give the protection in those environments for the traceability within the drug delivery system. Hugely important area. So those are the mega trends. So what are the benefits in terms of digital? And what I'm trying to do here is just demonstrate a kind of late stage customization model. So in the graph there on the right hand side, you have the cost of goods, the work in progress cost, the capital, the working capital tied up in the business. And as it moves through the timeline left to right, it goes from order to manufacture to customize, or customize is labeling really more than anything. So we order, we manufacture, we customize. And as it goes through that little journey, the cost of the goods is kind of pretty flat. As soon as you customize, the value of the goods increases tremendously because it's now unique, it's certain to a market, and off you go to a dispatch. So the cost of goods goes up. If you can extend that line as far across as you can, and the customization moves more and more to the right, potentially, you get this flexibility curve. So flexibility is very, very high at the start because you don't have a specific label, you don't have a specific market you're selling it in necessarily. If you move that line further and further to the right, and that's what we talk about in our garden rate model, we move it to the right, and that gives us the ability to maintain the cost of goods at a low level for as far down the delivery journey as we can. And the dispatch, or the customizing dispatch, can happen perhaps even in market, which creates an environment where flexibility is maintained right the way through the supply chain, right to the very end point. In the perfect world, it is customization within the retail environment. Why not? And that is for people who are wanting one-off batches, one-off items, particularly good for gifting, particularly good for cosmetics and those sorts of areas with strong gifting environment, and also for all those sorts of things where you're wanting the special editions, the special items. So it creates, in production terms, shorter lead times because we can customize closer to market. We can print on demand, gives us maximum flexibility. More widely, it keeps IP in-house potentially. If we're doing the printing, if we're doing the clever stuff in-house, we can do that and keep it in a controlled environment, in a digital environment. We accelerate the rate of innovation when we move it back into the world of prototyping. It's convenient. We create the prototypes, the short runs, the model making very rapidly. That allows us to do our thing in terms of product development, save on lead time, deliver something that's really effective, really well thought through, really easy to manufacture, but we can do that in a much, much shorter lead time. So the benefits of digital are many and varied. Okay, but some of the watch outs, some of the things we've got to be careful about in this digital world. One of the big issues is potentially data quality. The quality of the work, the quality of the data that's being fed back through the supply chain. And that's a connectivity thing through the Internet of Things. Workforce. The workforce has to be well bought into this. It's a different skill set. It's not conventional print, for example. It's not those sorts of things. What we're going to try and do is create consistency even in a digital world and create all the logistics and the logical connectivity within the manufacturing environment. And we also have one of the big challenges as well is that a lot of the senior folks in the businesses are not the millennials. They're not the folks that see the real value in this type of technology in a lot of cases. Certainly I've had recent examples where somebody wanted to stay in a brown cardboard box to deliver something to a client. The client had been saying, we want something better that looks better on the shelf and contributes to what we know as the unboxing experience. But because the client wasn't interested in the whole unboxing experience, it's just an item, I just want it delivered, I want it unbroken, I want it reliably delivered, he wasn't interested in doing what the customer wanted. And that's a challenge for us sometimes. They're the blockers. And regulation. Of course, regulation is important. Of course, regulation needs to be managed. But regulation can be both a stumbling block and also something that can help us. And we need to work with those regulations, with the folks that create the regulations, to deliver something that using the modern technologies, the modern capabilities, the digital capabilities, we can start to deliver things through. And that is often in the communication. It's often in the way the systems are put together with regard to communication media. So, in a short summary, so digital in the wider context, it really does offer so much more to us, the packaging folks. It provides us with some of the exciting ideas that we can use within our environment to create things that perhaps we haven't thought about. You know, take the example of the jet engine, the jet engine parts. At the moment, we use digital additive manufacture relatively infrequently, I would suggest. But how often would there be examples where we can use it from a customization perspective? Once the speeds start to increase, start working on those things, we start to offer something that is both lighter, stronger, better. All those things that we can create through using 3D print type technologies, digital technologies. We can use rapid manufacture, creating that flexibility, the personalization, hugely cost effectively these days. You know, there's some examples there of cartons, shippers that have been printed digitally. So corrugate has been printed digitally in shorter runs, cost effectively. It's no longer those long runs. And the growth in digital capability is massive. Everything from joints to jet engine parts to corrugate to laminate flooring to furniture, whatever you want. And that is reflected in terms of the growth. The growth in 2012, percent of digital manufacture in dollars terms by value was about 2.3%. In 2022, it's being predicted that it's going to be something like 3.9%. So the growth of digital within the manufacturing environment by value, and bear in mind these are where the added value is created in a lot of cases by the personalization, by those sorts of things that we talked about in our previous webinars. We can also help the environment in many ways. You know, reduce weight in planes, reduce CO2 loadings, less pressure on the environment. All those sorts of things are good things that we can contribute by good use of digital optimized technologies. And equally, the quality of the materials. The materials, the definition, the prints in terms of 3D, the quality of all those sorts of things, speeds, all improving and getting to a point where digital used to be castigated for being of poor quality, missing drops, missing lines, whatever, compared to conventional. That is no longer the case. 5 years ago, I would have probably agreed with you, to be honest. But now, the way the digital reliability is, we're in much better shape in terms of all those things. So what next from IDIPAC? So from IDIPAC perspective, we're very happy to run the webinar again internally within your businesses. If you'd like a specific discussion around any of these things, we're happy to meet up and discuss the content. We'll be in touch to talk with you and to capture your thoughts. Are there any other subjects you want to talk about, understand more about, and perhaps meet up at one of the industry events? We talk at a number of events over the year. Those details will be coming out on Twitter and LinkedIn through social media in the not too distant future. So we'd welcome being in touch and welcome to talk to you. Thank you for your time. That wraps up the webinar. I do, however, have a couple of questions. Okay, so a couple have come through. So Hervé from France, apologies if I've pronounced it wrongly. And what he said is digital has got so much to offer. Can you share an example where digital has created added value for the client? Okay, so this was an example of we did some it was 3D printing in this particular instance, large-scale 3D printing, where we made some packs. We'd done the CAD designs, we'd done the development designs. We thought everything was fine and dandy, but there was a number of features in these packs that what the client wanted to test. It was actually quite a large container. We wanted to check rinsing, dispensing, those sorts of features before committing to initial molds. We did that. We actually used the containers, we filled them with liquid, dispensed with them, played with them, carried them, moved them about, and out of that we created an environment where we were able to evaluate with the customer base, actually on a small scale test, and they gave us some great feedback, and those features were incorporated into the designs where we could, and that gave us a huge product improvement in a short lead time. Much better. The next one we have is from a chap called Dale from the UK. So what he says was the personalization trend is increasing rapidly. How does 3D and digital technology deliver improvement here? Okay, so we've been working with a number of techniques. You know, our passion is late stage, creating that flexibility within the manufacturing environment, reducing cost in the supply chain, and create that, as I say, agility and flexibility. And what we've been doing in recent times, we've been using CAD design, conventional CAD design, SolidWorks type, AutoCAD type work, and we've actually been feeding that into digital CNC equipment. What this is, and it's not your great big machine, steel machine in the corner, it's a much more flexible type machine where we're creating tooling for short run packs much more cost effectively. The lead times are much shorter. We're using a standard set of components to create the tooling in this particular case. It's built into the supply chain, completely flexible. So what we've done so far, our best time so far, we've gone from concept, i.e. the marketing guys have said we want this particular setup, to usable tooling, and then product out and packed in about 7 hours. That's our best so far. So cutting out the tooling, creating molds for very short runs, to be fair, and getting product out in about 7 hours. That's our best to date. So a great example of digital contributing to lead time, adding value to the supply chain within the client environment. So I'll say at this point, thank you to the questions, to Hervé and Dale. As I say, we'll wrap up at this point. Hopefully I haven't taken too much of your time up. We'd welcome joining up and linking in. Mine's Chris-Waterhouse on LinkedIn, in Twitter, at CB_Waterhouse, or at IDI Pack Limited. We'd love to join and connect, and hopefully you'll capture all our bits and pieces that we're putting out there from the social media perspective. Thank you for your time again. Great to speak to you. Thanks a lot.